Part 20. Tomb Raider, Marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 191. At this time, several people had already seen what the thing that fell next to their car was. It was actually a half-rotten corpse, with bones visible in many places all over the body, and countless maggots all over it. Although many of them fell off after falling from a height, there were still many crawling around it. Vomit. Damn it. So fucking disgusting. When everyone saw it, like Fatty Wong, they couldn't help but hold their hands and retched. Although they had seen many evil things in rice dumplings, such disgusting things were really rare. Walk, stop looking, Sumu called everyone back to the car. Although he was prepared, he was still disgusted. After returning to the car, everyone was in the mood to think about where the fallen things came from. I heard that there are some strange tribes here that make human figurines hanging on the cliffs. Could it be that they fell from the cliffs above? Hubei thought for a while and told what he knew. What the hell kind of custom is this? Isn't this deliberately disgusting? Fat Wong stopped wailing for a while. He was really worried about the fact that he was unlucky enough to be infected. At this moment, he had given up on wiping his body and took off his coat and threw it out of the car window. Fortunately, he still had some clothes on him. I brought an extra change of clothes, but Fatty Wong took them out and changed into them. Come on, we still have to get out of here first, Sumu urged. Everyone agreed. They were afraid that if a few more of them fell off later, their car would stink. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but shudder. They were deeply afraid. Later, their car would be poisoned by those maggots, so they couldn't wait to drive away from here. The car drove out quickly, and along the way down, everyone moved along the map, sometimes faster and sometimes slower. When they were bored, Fatty Wong and Hubei came to Menu Ping's side. Hey brother, do you have a girlfriend? Fat Wong was the first to ask. As soon as he spoke, Hubei followed up and said, brother is so handsome, why worry about not having a girlfriend? It seemed that they were working together to solve the problem by joking. I'm bored. Regarding this, Mi Nayuping said that he didn't care at all. Seeing that Mi Nayuping didn't say anything, Fatty Wong and Hubei were not discouraged at all, but became even more positive. Isn't it? Could it be that Brother Zhang is still there? Hubei said, pretending to be surprised. Fatty Wong bumped Hubei's shoulder, as if he was scolding Hubei. In fact, secretly he was still teasing Menyupian and said, Old Hu, why are you talking? How can little Brother Zhang not have a girlfriend? Do you think it's the same as you? Unexpectedly, as soon as the words fell to the ground, Mi Nayuping responded. No. Chapter 154. Menu Ping's words made Hubei and Fatty Wong, the two guys who worked together, a little unresponsive. When did these guys become so easy to talk to? However, now the two of them are talking. Even more excited. Fatty Wong directly lined up Menjuping's shoulder and said, it doesn't matter if you don't have it. We can look for it. Isn't that the truth? Brother Zhang is so good looking, so he definitely won't have to worry about finding a partner. The problem may just be a question of whether or not he likes her. The two of them sang and harmonized so well together that I had to say with emotion that these two were indeed good partners and good brothers who cooperated with each other tacitly. Is it difficult to find a partner? Let me tell you, this girl from the Miao border area is very good looking. If our little brother Zhang goes there, he will definitely be very popular. As Fatty Wong said this, he winked at the stuffy oil bottle in a very funny way. He looked at Sumu and Shirley Yang, who were eating melon and watching a show in front of them, and smacked their lips. Need not. Mi Nayuping's words were as brief as ever. But Fatty Wong said reluctantly, why don't you use it? Look at the couple in front of you. Didn't they have the slightest feeling of envy and desire for such a love? Su Mu and Shirley Yang in front looked innocent and shrugged, What does it have to do with us? We are husband and wife. Who would be in the way of being intimate? Come on, Sumu couldn't help but laugh. She didn't have the slightest regret in her heart about her love affair with Shirley Yangshiu. No, the stuffy oil bottle had fish eyes and didn't want to talk to the two of them. Sumu couldn't hold it back and laughed out loud. Fatty Wang and Hubie glanced at him and continued to talk like insurance salesmen. Listen, speaking of these meow girls, all of them are very graceful and beautiful. You will definitely not be at a disadvantage if you find one here. This time, Min Yuping simply ignored them. Ha 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 ha, underscore. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 192. Ha 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 ha. Sumu really couldn't hold it back this time and burst out laughing. He really couldn't imagine what it would be like for Men Yuping, a gourd with a sawed mouth, to fall in love. When he smiled like this, he directly felt the eye-rolling blow from Shirley Yang, and Shirley Yang was like a kisser protecting her cub, directly holding Min Yuping behind her. She looked older than Min Yuping, and now she was like a big sister protecting her cubs, slapping Wang Fatty and Hubie directly back. That's enough, you two. When Shirley Yang stood up, she was also very powerful. Sumu said that after Shirley Yang's strength has greatly improved during this period, it feels like her whole momentum has changed. Let me tell you, don't bully Brother Zhang. If you bully an honest person again, I will help her out. Professor Yang recognizes Brother Zhang as his younger brother? Hubie asked tentatively. Shirley Yang raised her chin without thinking and said quite proudly, that is, Sumu regards you all as his brothers. He is naturally my brother, and he has such a handsome brother. I am glad to. Min Yuping glanced at Shirley Yang and didn't refute. My sister-in-law has spoken. Then we won't go looking for a good girl for little brother. We originally planned to choose 1 or 2 girlfriends for little brother Zhang when we get there, but it's a pity. Fat Wang had a look of pity on his face, as if he would really be able to find it as soon as he went there. Everyone laughed and cursed all the way, and soon forgot what happened on the edge of the cliff before. They followed the map and soon came to a small town. Many people in the town are wearing clothes with Miao ethnic characteristics, with various embroidered clothes on their bodies, and heavy and cumbersome silver jewelry on their heads. It looks like everything is full of exotic customs. Several people I found an inn to rest and rest. The inn was full of ethnic minority characteristics inside and out, which was very attractive. Shirley Yang was quite good at such inns. Walking into the inn lobby, Sumu directly saw what was going on. A beautiful woman helped someone else. After listening carefully to her self-introduction, everyone knew her name. Her name was very nice, called Peacock. Peacock is a very beautiful woman, who looks like she is in her early 20s. She has a delicate and pretty little face, handsome facial features, a pair of round eyes that are very bright, as if they are filled with stars in the sky, and a small mouth that is red and moist, with the so-called peach lips. Well, she is a rare beauty. There was someone watching next to Sumu, and it was not easy to take a few glances. But Fatty Wang's eyes were almost straight. Even Hubie called him several times. Then he came back to his senses and coughed twice with an embarrassed look to cover up his rudeness. How many guests are staying in the hotel? When Peacock saw a new guest coming in, he quickly greeted him warmly. Before Sumu and the others said anything, Fatty Wang took the lead and made the decision. Yes, stay in the hotel and arrange rooms for us. We will stay here tonight. When Sumu and Hubie saw Fatty Wang's nymphomaniacal look, they couldn't help but laugh out loud, and then rolled their eyes at him silently. Fatty Wang didn't say anything about this. After checking in, under the leadership of Peacock, everyone went upstairs, selected their own rooms, and rested comfortably for a while. Sumu summoned several other people to his room to discuss things. They were now in Miao territory, so this is an unfamiliar place. If you want to move around, it means you don't know the way. It's hard to move. Perhaps, we should find a local as a guide, so that we can avoid many detours, Sumu suggested. After summing up, Sumu invited the peacock to come up and asked who in this small town was more familiar with the surrounding environment. You don't need to go out to find others. There is no one in this area who is more familiar with the surrounding mountains than me. If you want to take a walk around, I can take you for a walk. There will also be some love here occasionally. I have taken many of my mountain climbing friends here, and I am the most powerful one in this area. Peacock was very enthusiastic about their inquiries and introduced himself, saying that he was someone who was extremely familiar with the people around him. After saying this, Sumu and the others were naturally happy because they didn't need to go to the trouble of asking around. Fatty Wang, on the other hand, was very happy. He was more than willing to serve as a guide for the peacock, so that he could get along with the peacock for a while longer. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 194. Since Peacock said she could do it, everyone discussed it and decided to appoint Peacock as their guide. Now that we have decided, we will have to trouble Miss Peacock tomorrow. Fat Wang scratched his head and chuckled. His eyes were fixed on Peacock's body, and he couldn't even peel them off. Peacock was a generous and straightforward person, and she didn't care about Fatty Wang's eyes. She knew that she looked better. Over the past year, she looked better. She also received a lot of looks like this, but she didn't care at all. But doesn't Miss Peacock work in this hotel? Can you walk away? Hu Ba asked. Peacock smiled and said, "It's okay. I'll just find someone to take my place when the time comes." Well, it's settled. So after everyone discussed the departure time, they went back to their rooms. Mi Yuping, Hu Bai, and Fatty Wang opened a standard room with 4 beds, which was enough for the 3 of them. Sumu and Shirley Yang were a couple, so naturally they had a double bedroom. After returning to the room, Sumu found that Shirley Yang seemed a little worried, so he asked Shirley, "What's wrong with you? What are you thinking about?" Sumu stepped forward and hugged Shirley Yang's waist from behind. The soft and slender waist made Sumu unable to put it down. Shirley Yang felt a suffocation in her heart, and turned around to hug Sumu's waist. She leaned her face against Sumu's chest. She wanted to say how she felt, but she pouted and held back. The way she hesitated to speak made Sumu laugh. "You still laugh at me?" Shirley Yang was angry and beat Sumu's chest with her small fist. Sumu grabbed Shirley Yang's hands, brought them to her lips and kissed her hard. "Since you don't want to talk about it yet, let's have a heart-to-heart communication." Sumu looked at Shirley Yang with a wicked smile. Shirley Yang frowned, not thinking clearly what flow. Sumu's eyes flashed, and the corners of his mouth were evil. He bent down and picked up Shui Yang. At the same time, he gently threw Shirley Yang in his arms. Shirley Yang was so frightened that she immediately hugged Su's neck. Sumu's current strength makes it so easy to hold Shirley Yang. When he picks her up, the weight in his arms is like holding an ocean. "Now do you want to tell your husband why you were unhappy just now?" Sumu hugged her delicate body and asked softly. Shirley Yang was too tired to think about anything now. Sumu said it directly when she asked, "Why did Miss Peacock just want to be so active? Will you be our tour guide?" Sumu was speechless. "How do I know this? Do you think she fell in love with you, so she actively wanted to be our guide?" "The reason is because of you," Shirley Yang pouted, with a look of jealousy on her face. Sumu was stunned by what Shirley Yang said, and then she couldn't help but laugh. "What are you thinking about? Although your husband is good enough, not every woman will fall in love with me." Shirley Yang frowned. Wrinkling her nose, She showed a trace of her little daughter's attitude. She leaned on Sumyu's chest, drew circles on his chest with her fingers and said, "You also know that you are good enough. You spend all day trying to attract girls." "Oops, I was so unjustly accused." Sumyu smiled and kissed Shirley Yang's hair, but because of Shirley Yang's words, she couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He chuckled twice and said, "She doesn't have a crush on me. I think she is attracted to little brother Zhang." Shirley Yang was stunned and said doubtfully, "Really?" Sumyu nodded and said seriously, "That must be true. Mina Yuping is so handsome, and his cool appearance can attract little girls." Seeing that Shirley Yang was still a little doubtful, Sumyu pressed on Shirley Yang's body again and kissed her. "Don't think about other people. Since you're not tired yet, how about?" The quilt was lifted up violently by a big hand, and then the two figures were directly covered in it. "The night is still very long, _ Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 195. Early the next morning, everyone got up before the agreed time, packed their things and prepared to set off. Peacock also came here very early. Since she decided to be their guide, she naturally had to fulfill her duties. After the assembly was completed, Peacock led everyone out to the surrounding mountains. Because Sumyu and the others just said that they were mountain climbing enthusiasts, there was nothing to see in the town, and they planned to climb the mountains here, so Peacock's responsibility was to go with them and help them find the way. After leaving the town, they walked directly onto the mountain road. There was a towering peak in the distance, which was Gelong Mountain, and where they wanted to go was behind Gelong Mountain. While walking, Hubei looked at Gelong Mountain with a telescope and found that the mountain was really high. Gelong Mountain is said to be a mountain, but in fact it should be said to be a mountain range. The highest peak is towering into the clouds, rugged and steep, with cliffs on both sides that stretch endlessly. There seems to be a thick mist on the mountain, lingering and layered. Endless. Show me. Sumyu also saw the mountainous area covered with dense forests, and stretched out his hand towards Hubei. Hubei did not say anything and directly handed the binoculars to Sumyu. Sumyu just took a small look. After a while, he couldn't help but look heavy and ponder hard. Seeing that Sumyu and Hubei looked a little ugly, the other people couldn't help but change their faces slightly and said, "What's wrong? Take a look, come on." Sumyu handed the telescope in his hand to the others. Not only Sumyu, but also several other people couldn't help but murmured and cursed after looking at it. "How can I get along with this?" The distance became wider and wider. As they got closer, everyone also had a general understanding of the surrounding environment. From the peacock's mouth, they learned that very few people from this generation came here, and it was actually very difficult to reach the back of Gelong Mountain from here. Hubei took out a map from his bag at this time, then pointed to the two indications on it and said, "We have only two ways to get around it." Chapter 156. Two ways. Yes, there are two ways to go through it. Hubei pointed at the map and said, "The first way is to go directly over Gelong Mountain, but you have also seen that it is as difficult as climbing to the top of Gelong Mountain. The second way is to go around Gelong Mountain." Everyone listened carefully and looked at the map, which clearly showed two obvious lines. Shirley Yang asked, "Where can we go around the second one? Come and take a look." Upon hearing this, he spread the map on the ground, then pointed at the marked line and said, "The second route is here." Everyone came forward to watch carefully, and heard Hubei continue, "We will follow the Snake River and bypass Gelong Mountain. Then we'll go around it." Fatty Wan clapped his hands and said. Hubei rolled his eyes at him and said, "How can it be so easy? This route passes through a primeval forest that exists between the Lankang River and the New River. The forest is full of dangers, and it is very difficult to get around there. Chen Yulu took his men on this road and almost died." Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Fatty Wang even tightened his mouth and did not dare to speak any more. Hubei continued to say before he finished speaking. And you can see that the distance on this map is actually only that far, but anyone who has walked through the virgin forest will know that in fact, the estimated distance and the actual distance will differ by more than 10 or 20 times in terms of itinerary, and there are some miasmas swamps in the primeval forest, which can easily catch people if they are not careful. The entire primeval forest is like a green hell, with dangers everywhere, not to mention there are many strange tomb dumplings in it. Hubei's explanation was so frightening that Shirley Yang looked ugly. She didn't expect that this trip would be so difficult, but no matter how difficult it was, she still had to go, so she asked. So which path do we choose? Everyone pondered. Hubei touched his chin and said, now it seems that we can only choose the second way. Everyone has seen the first way. The walls of Gelong Mountain are steep. With our ability, we want to be safe and sound. It's as difficult as climbing to the sky. When everyone heard this, they looked up at the steep mountains that towered into the clouds. Sure enough, as Hubei said, there were cliffs everywhere, which were daunting. In this case, let's choose the second path. Although it is difficult to walk, as long as you act carefully, you can always keep your life safe. Others also unanimously agreed to choose the second path, but Sumu, who had been silent, had other ideas. He was familiar with it in his heart. As for the plot, he knew that these two paths were not the only ones that could be taken in the original work. In the original work, Hubei and the others had taken such a shortcut, but their current timeline was earlier than the timeline in the original work. Sumu he was not sure whether Hubei could still find a shortcut, so after thinking about it, he asked the peacock on the side, "Peacock, I want to ask you something." Peacock stayed silent and didn't say much during their discussion. Hearing Sumu ask himself, he quickly replied, "If anything happens, just tell me. Underscore, comma. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 196. What's the matter? Tell me. You are very familiar with this area. Do you know if there are any caves at the bottom of Gelong Mountain? Peacock accepted what Sumu asked, and his face suddenly changed. His pretty little face turned pale. He hurriedly waved his hands and said, "No, no. You can't go there." "Why?" When everyone heard this, they felt happy. When the peacock said this, there was such a cave. But the peacock seemed to be very afraid of that cave. "Yes, why can't you go there? Why can't we take a shortcut?" Fat Wang asked in confusion. Peacock's expression was almost like crying. He seemed to have thought of something. He couldn't help but shudder. Seeing that everyone was paying attention to him, he finally said slowly, "For a long time there you absolutely can't go there, it's a ghost cave." Ghost cave? Why is it called that? Is there a ghost inside? Yes, Peacock, since you know why, tell us about it. Yeah, Peacock. After being questioned repeatedly by Sumu and the others, they told the truth. It turns out that there is really a cave at the bottom of Gelong Mountain that runs through the entire Gelong Mountain, but it is called the Gelong Mountain Ghost Cave because of the terrifying legends there. According to legend, this cave was dug by our ancestors in ancient times. In the past, the world was very chaotic. A group of rebellious bandits occupied the cave and fought against the officers and soldiers. There were forks in the cave and they were complicated. Every time they fought, the bandits would use the cave inside. The terrain carried out strong defense and counterattack, which caused many casualties to the officers and soldiers who came to encircle and suppress them. The officers and soldiers had no choice but to deal with the complex terrain in the mountain, so they had to completely block all the cave entrances with stones. The people inside were trapped alive. After the death of those people, their souls have been trapped in that cave. Whenever they have a sea party, as long as they put their ears against the rocks of Gelong Mountain, they will hear bursts of shrill and desperate cries coming from the mountain. Howling, this is why the cave is called a ghost cave by the local people. We have a custom here that after death, people will be buried in water. That is, the person is placed on a bamboo raft and followed by the current, and the corpses will automatically flow into the ghost cave without exception. Someone once followed it without believing in evil, wanting to see what was going on, but those who went never came back. Peacock said, his face full of fear, and everyone said excitedly, "You must not go there, people will die." The kind-hearted Peacock really didn't want them to go there, so dangerous, but Sumu and the others felt that it was better to go there than to go around. In Gelong Mountain, it might be safer to go to the dangerous primeval forest, so we unanimously decided to go directly through the cave. Peacock was extremely anxious when she saw that everyone was going their own way. As a guide, she should follow them, but the ghost cave made her hesitate, and it was difficult to make a decision after much thought. Sumu and the others thought that Peacock really didn't want to go, so they had no choice but to let Peacock go back by himself, but the kind-hearted Peacock finally chose to follow them. Since we were going to cross the cave, we had to prepare a bamboo raft. Fortunately, with everyone's concerted efforts, the bamboo raft was quickly prepared. Sumu and Mina Yuping carried the bamboo raft and put it safely into the water. After that, everyone got on the bamboo raft together. Chapter 157. The bamboo raft, which was tied tightly with ropes and supported by a long bamboo pole, left the shore and began to drift with the current. It is really a novel experience to float on the river on a bamboo raft like this. Shirley Yang was sitting on the bamboo raft, looking at the scenery on the river bank, and couldn't help but sigh. The environment she lived in since she was a child would never give her the opportunity to play with these things. Now that she has the opportunity to sit on this simple bamboo raft, it made Shirley Yang feel very strange. "If you like it, I will take you to a place with better scenery in the future." Sumu was very strong, so he directly arranged for him to pick up the pole and punt the boat. After hearing what Shirley Yang said, he immediately started to comfort his wife. Several people listening nearby could not help but roll their eyes silently in their hearts. "Here it comes again, here it comes again, the dog food professional is here again." The Peacock was sitting next to the stuffy oil bottle, listening absent-mindedly. Seeing that they were still talking and laughing, and looking confident, he just thought they were afraid of danger. "I don't know anything, so I can't help but become more worried." "Do not be afraid." Menjuping suddenly opened his mouth in a deep voice. Peacock looked back after hearing the sound, and saw Mina Yuping's resolute and cold side face, which seemed to bring endless peace of mind. The group chatted from time to time. Sumu he slowly supported the bamboo raft, leisurely and wantonly. The water flow was very smooth at first, so Sumu only needed to use the long bamboo pole to support the boat from time to time. But gradually everyone felt the changes in the water flow. "Have you ever felt that our speed seems to have become faster?" Shirley Yang is a careful woman, and it didn't take long for her to notice the changes. "Seems like it." Hubei took a look at the receding scenery around him and agreed. After saying this, others also noticed it, but they just regarded it as a normal phenomenon. There will always be some rapids and gentle places in a river, which is normal. But soon, they were not as calm as before. Even the calm and restrained Menjuping looked around suspiciously, with a little solemnity on his face. Just because they discovered that the place they were in was a river seems to be existing in a state that goes against nature. As the saying goes, water flows downwards. This is a normal natural phenomenon. However, the water of this river seems to have overcome this phenomenon for unknown reasons. Natural phenomena begin to flow to higher places. Drop. If energy interference is detected nearby, unpredictable consequences will occur. Please be alert to the host, _. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 197. Drop. If energy interference is detected nearby, unpredictable consequences will occur. Please be alert to the host. The system's alarm sound suddenly came to mind. It was very different from the previous sounds that indicated the detection of attribute light groups. The alarm sound completely silenced after it sounded 3 times, but Sumyu's heart could not calm down. And when he discovered that the river was flowing higher, this uneasy feeling became more and more intense. No need to punt, we will go directly along the river to the ghost cave, Peacock said, looking forward worriedly, clasping his hands in front of his chest, seeming to be in an extremely worried state. After everyone heard this, they also followed the peacock's gaze and looked ahead. At the end in front of them, they all knew that it would be the place that the locals called the ghost cave. Sumyu put down his pennies and waited quietly with everyone. As the water flowed higher and higher, everyone found that the surrounding environment began to slowly change. On both sides of the river, you can occasionally see some water birds perching on the water's edge. Occasionally, 1 or 2 egrets will spread their wings and hover above their heads for a while, and then return to the reeds beside the river. However, as we traveled farther and farther, the sounds beside the river became less and less. Eventually, the waterbirds that inhabited the waterside seemed to have become extinct and could no longer be seen. Not only were the waterbirds invisible, but even the chirping of insects was not audible. It was eerily silent. The color of the sky seemed to be slowly changing. The originally sunny weather began to slowly become darker and darker as they got closer and closer to the cave. The dark clouds seemed as if the sky would collapse in the next moment. It makes people feel depressed. We will be sucked in, the peacock murmured softly. Everyone was silent for a while after hearing this, but after all, they had encountered a lot of things, so the heavy mood only lasted for a short time, and then returned to normal. What do you think will be inside? Will there be the same female ghost in white as before? Fat Wang sat on the bamboo raft, holding his chin with one hand and looking deep in thought. Hu Ba thought about it and said it was hard to say. Actually, I want to know more about whether there will be a female ghost in King Xian's tomb. Hu Ba laughed twice. Who knows, no matter what, I must get the Muchen bead anyway. Shirley Yang's eyes were determined. Her goal was the Muchen bead. She had been looking for it for so long and went through so many difficulties through life and death, just to find the Muchen bead that would allow them to lift the curse of the mountain-moving clan. Now it was finally easy. Knowing that Muchen pearl would be in King Xian's tomb, she would go and try it no matter what dangers there might be. Don't worry, I will help you find the Muchen bead. Knowing what Shirley Yang was worried about, Sumyu reached out and held Shirley Yang's hand, squeezed it gently, and brought her some comfort. Shirley Yang shook Sumyu's hand back and smiled at him, her face instantly brightened. Is the tomb of King Xian also related to Wang Zhanghai? Suddenly, Hu Ba asked. Sumyu thought for a while, nodded, and said, Wang Zhanghai is playing a big game of chess. The tombs we are playing now are all related to that old guy, but I don't know what he is hiding. What conspiracy? Could the previous Tiangong model be the secret hidden by Wang Zhanghai? Fat Wang suddenly turned his attention to Sumyu. Fatty Wang felt that the Tiangong was really shocking and puzzling. Where is the Tiangong hidden? What secrets are hidden in it? Wang Zhanghai hid the Tiangong in the undersea tomb model, and on the human skin map found in the underground palace, what would be hidden in the tomb of King Xian? Could it be that there is only one Muchen bead hidden? Many speculations have made everyone more interested in the tomb of King Xian. Lots of daydreams, but what will it be like inside? What incredible things will they encounter inside? No one can guess now. For a moment, everyone fell into silence, not because the atmosphere became more, the depression was just because they were all waiting quietly for what was about to happen next. The bamboo rafts were drifting in the water, and the people in the distance finally arrived at the bottom of Geelong Mountain, and they were finally able to see that person. It's a cave that's rumored to be very weird, _ Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 198. The deep cave looks like a hole in the heart of the mountain from the outside. The dark entrance looks like an evil ghost has opened his mouth, waiting for him to come to the door. Coming prey. At this time, the sky had become darker. The peacock looked up at the sky and then at the dark cave that was getting closer and closer, with his hands clasped in front of his chest. That posture is like a believer praying to his God. Hubei and the others also became serious, because their bamboo raft was moving towards the cave at a constant speed, as if the evil ghost was sucking them. Although everyone felt a little heavy in their hearts, most of them were eager to try. "You don't seem scared at all," Peacock looked at them and suddenly said. Fatty Wong responded positively, "That's right, we are very powerful. What big scene haven't we seen before? Still afraid of these?" Hubei calmed down and said, "That's because Sumu and Brother Zhang are great, but is that because you are great? If we see through it without telling it, we can still be friends." Fat Wang gritted his teeth and glared at Hubei. "Ha ha ha ha." Sumu and Hubei laughed at the same time. They looked as if they didn't care about the danger that was going to happen next. Seeing them so relaxed, Peacock obviously felt that it was dangerous, but he couldn't help but feel an inexplicable sense of trust in them. Slowly, the bamboo raft got closer to the cave. Shirley Yang glanced at the water and found that the color in the water seemed to be getting darker near the cave. "Look in the water." Shirley Yang pointed to the water and exclaimed. Everyone looked and saw the difference in color in the water. Looking carefully, the water near the cave seemed to become more turbid. Only when the bamboo raft got closer did everyone notice, those turbid colors gradually turned into a color like blood, which was very strange. Sumu walked to the front and stood together with Mina Yuping. The others also put away the smiles on their faces, and their expressions became cautious. "I got up. Before, I could joke as much as I wanted outside, just to lighten my mood, but after getting close to this so-called ghost cave, especially after seeing such a weird scene, everyone put away their contempt and laughter and started to take it seriously." "Treated. This water, why is it so red?" he said loudly. "Is it all blood and water?" No one can answer, because no one knows. Everyone is silent, and everyone begins to feel uneasy. The closer they get, they can feel a very strange feeling, and slowly spread in my heart. "Ah!" Suddenly, the peacock screamed, making everyone who was nervous couldn't help but tremble. When they looked up, they saw the peacock covering his eyes and screaming quickly, as if he had seen something terrible. He hid behind Sumu. Seeing this scene, Shirley Yang secretly shook her lips, then glared at Sumu fiercely, and turned her head away angrily. After receiving the line of sight, Sumu looked back and saw Shirley Yang's angry expression, and suddenly felt confused about whether to laugh or cry. "What's wrong?" Sumu asked. The peacock didn't dare to raise his head. He covered his eyes with one hand and pointed towards the cave with the other. He said tremblingly, there is something there." After everyone heard this, they immediately looked in the direction of the cave, but what they saw was still pitch black and nothing could be seen. "What do you see?" Sumu asked. Peacock whispered, it's just a dark shadow, it looks scary." Peacock described what he saw carefully, but everyone took flashlights to shine but still couldn't see what Peacock said. Sumu looked at the peacock thoughtfully. He felt that Peacock's current state was somewhat similar to that of a person, Axiong, the goddaughter raised by Uncle Ming, a Hong Kong businessman. When Axiong was born, Axiong's parents placed Axiong in a glass enclosure that was isolated from the outside world and equipped with air purification equipment. They kept her until she was 2 years old. When she was young, she was protected from the contamination and influence of germs in the air, but it also made her extremely sensitive to the outside world after living outside the glass cover. Her nerves are so sensitive that she can often sense things that normal people cannot sense at all. This ability once made Axiong feel very troubled. Later, Axiong's parents died for some reason, and Axiong became an orphan. Uncle Ming adopted Axiong as his daughter. Because Axiong is extremely sensitive to those things, he has saved Uncle Ming's life more than once. From then on, whenever Uncle Ming came into contact with evil things such as mummies and coffins, he would always bring Axiong with him. By his side, he treated Axiong as the apple of his eye. However, these are the people and things that Hubei and the others will meet when they go to Kunlun Temple, so they don't know about it yet, and they can't see the condition of Peacock at this moment. They didn't know it, but Sumu knew it. He thought about it carefully and understood it. Peacock has lived in the depths of Yunnan since he was a child. The environment here is good and the air is not polluted. In addition, he is a little bit special, so he is naturally more sensitive than ordinary people, and his perception is much stronger than many people. He has similar beast's instinct for danger. Why can't we see it? Fat Wang scratched his head and wondered. Hubei thought deeply. Did he see something similar to a spirit body? Why can she see? Fat Wang still doesn't understand. Everyone was also guessing. Sumu originally wanted to say something, but Mi Niuping said simply and directly. Yin and Yang eyes. Underscore, comma. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 199. Yin and Yang eyes. Everyone suddenly realized it and looked at the peacock in surprise. They didn't expect to see living yin and yang eyes. Shirley Yang thought about it but felt that it shouldn't be yin and yang eyes. The so-called yin and yang eyes are actually very difficult to form. People with yin and yang eyes, often the yin energy is extremely heavy and the luck is very poor. The whole person looks gloomy, but the peacock's state is not like this. Not yin yang eyes. What is that? Shirley Yang thought for a moment, clapped her hands and said, "Have you heard about the 6 realms of eyes?" What 6 realms? When Shirley Yang said this, even Sumu became a little curious. He knew what the peacock eyes were, but he didn't know the reason why she had such eyes. Shirley Yang was extremely knowledgeable. Next, I explained to everyone what the 6 realms of the eyes are. The so-called 6 realms of the eyes actually refer to the 5 eyes and 6 channels in Buddhist Tantra. Shirley Yang spoke carefully. Fatty Wang looked confused and asked, 5 eyes and 6 psychic powers? What is that? Not only Fatty Wang, but also other people were at a loss. Although Hubei and the others had heard a little about it, they had only heard a little bit about it. Now listening to Shirley Yang's explanation, they became more interested and understood. Very serious. Shirley Yang continued to explain, in the interpretation of Buddhism, the 5 eyes and 6 channels are 1 physical eye. Keep the precepts and be pure. The 2nd heavenly eye can distinguish Hinayana. The 3 eyes of wisdom can distinguish between the 2 vehicles. The 4 Dharma eyes can distinguish Mahayana. The 5 Buddha eyes can distinguish the best. Of the 6 powers, 1 is the divine eye, which allows one to see the Buddha nature and understand the local scenery. The 2nd is the divine ear, which can understand the supreme Dharma. Those who have realized it can understand each other's words, and others can't understand it at all. The 3rd is that others understand the mind, and those who understand and understand have the same experience. The 4th is destiny, giving birth to children for countless calamities, and telling the whole story. The 5th is the divine foot power, the Buddha nature is spread throughout the void, omnipresent, just like the rising sun in the sky. The 6th one is the passage of all outflows, the realization of nirvana without any residue, and the existence after receiving. What are these you are talking about? Why can't I understand it at all? Fat Wang scratched his head and looked confused. He could understand every word of these things when they were taken apart. How could it be that when they were put together, the meaning was so profound that he couldn't understand it at all? These are all annotations in Buddhist teachings. Naturally, they sound rather mysterious and difficult to understand. Shirley Yang said with a smile. Then please explain to us, what does this have to do with peacock eyes? Fat Wang said anxiously. Peacock also temporarily forgot about the fright just now and listened seriously. Although she just saw some things that ordinary people can't see, she didn't know that there were so many reasons. Fatty, don't be impatient. Let Shirley explain it to you slowly, Sumu said. Then Shirley Yang continued. Actually, to put it simply, a person's eyes are divided into 5 realms: physical eye, heavenly eye, wisdom eye, dharma eye, and Buddha eye. Eh? Didn't you say 6 realms? Fat Wang couldn't help but speak again, but Hubei reached out and slapped his head as a warning. Shirley Yang didn't care and continued. In fact, the naked eye already encompasses 2 realms. The naked eye actually refers to us. Ordinary people's eyes are very limited in what they can see and cannot see through all tangible matter. It is a very limited viewing tool, but above it is the original eye, which is the instinctive eye. It is an eye with keen intuition like a wild animal. Since it is not contaminated by the world, the range of vision is wider than that of ordinary humans. For many, this range does not refer to the depth of vision, but to the ability to capture something that normal people cannot see. But because it is only owned by ordinary humans, it is only attributed to the naked eye. Next is the third eye, the third eye. Able to see the situations of sentient beings in both worlds for many lives in the past and future. The eye of wisdom can understand all the truths in the world and understand all the cause and effect in the world. Dharma eyes, such as those of bodhisattvas and arhats, can clearly see things before and after hundreds of kalpas. When the Dharma eye transforms into the holy eye state, it can clearly see things before and after millions of kalpas. The highest level of Buddha eye can only be achieved by those who have cultivated the 5 eyes and the 6 powers. And those who have Buddha eyes are boundless and can clearly see everything in the universe and the eternity from beginning to end. Even though you said so much, I'm still a little dizzy, Fatty Wang laughed sheepishly. When everyone saw this, they were completely speechless towards him and did not continue to care about him. Sumu glanced at the peacock and asked, so, Shirley, which category do you think the peacock's eyes belong to? Fei Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading: collect, recommend, and share. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 200. So, Shirley, which category do you think peacock eyes belong to? Shirley Yang touched her chin and thought for a while, then said the eyes of a peacock should be between the human eye and the original eye. The current peacock can see a little dark stuff, which is probably a sense of danger. The power allowed her to instinctively realize the danger. When she fully reaches her original state, she will naturally be able to see the true face of those dangers. Damn it, are you so awesome? Although Fatty Wang doesn't understand it very well, it doesn't stop him from thinking that such an ability is awesome. This kind of ability is simply what people like them who specialize in going to the grave dream of. If you have such eyes, those evil spirits and crises can be detected in your eyes. There is nothing to hide in front of him, it is simply a must-have for home travel. Sumu listened carefully, but slowly began to think deeply in his heart. He was guessing where his eyes belonged based on the knowledge Shirley Yang said. A state. Peacock can see some dark shadows, and his eyes can also see some vague black energy. Obviously, it should be slightly better than Peacock's ability, but he doesn't care about it because his own bloodline bonus has made him somewhat aware of many dangers, and he can use the attributes he picked up to enhance his abilities. He believes that as long as his attributes continue to increase, his eyes will ability can also be improved, and maybe you can see the attributes of eye ability in the future. Then I don't know what level my eyes can be improved to. Will it reach the third, fourth, or even the final level? Those eyes of the Buddha? Such thoughts made Sumu so excited that his whole body seemed to be shaking, and he became more and more excited about the unknown things that would happen next. He wished that time would go faster so that he could enter the tomb of King Xian quickly. Thinking of the various crises in King Xian's tomb, Sumu's eyes lit up. Those were all light groups with proper attributes. While they were talking, the bamboo raft they were riding on had already arrived at the entrance of the cave. The river water below has turned a deep red color like blood. The peacock's eyes can see those strange things, but the cave must still be entered, in order not to let the peacock be frightened by those things that are outside the world. Thought about it, and then took out something from his backpack. Come on, Peacock, put on these sunglasses. Shirley Yang handed a pair of sunglasses to Peacock. Peacock took them, hesitantly put them on, and then said to Shirley Yang, "Thank you." Shirley Yang smiled, expressed her thoughts, and then looked back. Sumu looked at it with a smile on her lips. This girl was still jealous of the peacock last night, but now she saw that the peacock was frightened. Even though he was pregnant, he still helped her find a way to avoid being frightened. She was so kind-hearted, she was his wife. Chapter 160. After Peacock put on his sunglasses, he felt a lot more at ease. Because of the sunglasses in front of him, blocked, everything was dark, and the things that frightened him and her were not so obvious. The bamboo raft was still flowing slowly, and Sumu didn't punt it, but the bamboo raft never stopped for a moment. Drifting. The sky outside has become darker unconsciously, and the dark clouds have gathered together. The dark clouds seem to be overwhelmed and fall from the sky. It makes people feel very depressed, as if it's like something big happened. Rumble. Suddenly, a thunder exploded. The sound that sounded like the sky was splitting seemed to hit everyone's heart directly, causing everyone to tremble violently and frown fiercely. Ah! With an exclamation, the peacock was so frightened that he squatted down, trembling and looking very pitiful. This day, it was obviously fine before. Huba raised his head and glanced at the dark sky, frowning and said. Yes, it looked like the sky was clear and the sun was shining before, now it looks like it's going to rain heavily. This is not the season for thunderstorms either, it's really strange, Fat Wang also complained. I've told you before, this cave is called a ghost cave by our locals. It has always been very evil. Now you can see that as soon as we arrived at the entrance of the cave, the sky turned into this, Peacock said with fear. She had heard so many legends about ghost caves. Now that she saw this situation, she believed in the rumors about ghost caves even more. Is this really the case? Fatty Wang felt a little nervous when he heard what Peacock said, and hesitantly said, isn't it really because of the sinister energy in this ghost cave that this abnormal phenomenon occurs here? There shouldn't be many lonely ghosts inside, right? Underscore, comma. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 201. There shouldn't be many lonely ghosts inside, right? Even Shirley Yang couldn't help but pulled Sumu's hand in shock and guessed. Those are just rumors, don't scare yourself, Huba directly scolded Fatty Wang loudly. He was a former soldier and had a great sense of righteousness in his heart. He didn't believe in this kind of folklore about cows, ghosts, and snake gods, so he just regarded the black clouds outside as nothing more. Just a normal natural phenomenon. Rumble. There was loud thunder again from the sky, and there were even white lightning looming in the dark clouds. Such a terrifying sight, it felt like the sky was about to collapse. Not only was the sky extremely dark and terrifying, there was even a strong wind blowing suddenly. The howling wind sounded like something was howling in the airs, which made people tremble. This looks really weird. Fatty Wang's expression changed and he said, why do I have an ominous feeling, old Hu? If you tell me it's a natural phenomenon now, I really don't believe it. Hubei didn't speak, but his brows were getting tighter and tighter. They had only thought that what Peacock said before was just folklore. Although he said some weird and ghostly words, it was just a joke as usual, and there was no meaning at all. Really? But now the closer we get to the ghost cave, the anomalies are becoming more and more terrifying. This makes Hubei, a materialist who firmly believes in the old Marxism-Leninism, can't help but suspect that there may be something hidden in the ghost cave. The wind. The originally calm water surface was also blown up by waves. With the push of the waves, the bamboo raft also accelerated and floated into the cave. The darkness slowly swallowed everyone in front of them. Shirley Yang and the others quickly took out their flashlights and used light to illuminate the road ahead. The moment everyone entered the cave, they felt as if they had entered an ice cellar. They felt a cold air rushing from the soles of their feet directly to the top of their heads, which made people feel excited. Damn it, why did it suddenly become so cold? I'm getting goosebumps, Fatty Wang rubbed his arms and murmured. Fatty Wang is not the only one who has this kind of thing. Sumu and Mi Yiping are the ones with the sharpest perception among all the people present. From the moment they entered the cave, their whole nerves seemed to be provoked by something invisible. Suddenly became vigilant. Everyone, be careful, Sumu looked around and warned in a deep voice. Everyone nodded in response, put away all the doubts and speculations in their hearts, and began to concentrate on dealing with all the problems that were about to happen next. The river passed through the cave, the bamboo raft slowly floated further and further along the river along the current. After entering the cave, the wind and waves outside seemed to be isolated. Even the bamboo raft, which was accelerated by the wind and waves, was also accelerated by the wind and waves. Not long after entering the cave, things calmed down. The cave was very dark, and everyone needed to hold strong flashlights to see the environment clearly. The cave was quite wide, and there were traces of knives and axes everywhere. It was left behind when the ancestors dug this cave. The stone walls of the cave are very moist, maybe because they are close to the river, or maybe because of other reasons. Some of the stone walls have turned black. Those black ones are it spread on the stone wall, and then infected the stone wall with various shapes, which looked very weird and weird. Bah! In the silent darkness, a very sudden voice sounded. Everyone looked and saw that Sumu was pulling the zipper of his backpack, seeming to be looking for something in the bag. Husband, what are you doing? Underscore, comma.